So this is lesson 10, part 2, multiplying binomials. So there's many ways to multiply binomials. Some use the method called FOIL, which is first, outside, inside, and last. This would be first, this would be outside, this would be inside, and then the 1 and the 3 would be last. That only works if you're multiplying binomials. So I'm going to show you a different method. If you know FOIL, you're welcome to use FOIL, but I'm going to show you a different method, and this works on everything that anytime you're multiplying polynomials. So you take the first one and you write it vertically, and you take the next one and you write it horizontally. I didn't really leave myself enough room. If you want to, you can make these marks which separate each term, and then what you're going to do is you're going to multiply. X times x is x squared, x times 3 is 3x, 1 times x is 1x, and then you're going to add things together. So x squared, nothing of those, x's, which is 4x, and that's all there is. A, negative 5, A, positive 2. A times A times A is A squared, A times 2 is 2A. Negative 5 times A is negative 5A. So now we add what's like, A squared, and then negative 5 plus 2 would be negative 3A. Oops. Three t negative 2, 5t negative 4. If you want to make the other lines, you can. So 3t times 5t, 3 times 5 is 15, t times t is t squared. 3t times 4, 3 times 4 is negative 12t. Then 2t times 5t, negative 10t. And then put together what's alike. 15t squared. And then these two. Negative 22t. So here we've got x squared times 5x is 5x to the third. And then x squared times 3, negative 3, is negative 3x squared. 1 times 5 is 5x. Now, you got to be careful here. 5x squared, 5x cubed, and then there's an x squared, and then there's an x. You can't put them all together because they're not all alike. Find the area of the rectangle. Area of a rectangle, we know, is length times width. The length of this is 3x minus 2, and the width is x minus 4. So length times width. So that gives us 3x negative 2, x negative 4. Oh. That's better. Alright, 3x times x. 3 times 1, understood 1 is 3. X times x is x squared. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. X. And then negative 2 times each one of them. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. X. Negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. Now we put together what's alike. So there's no more x squareds. Here's our x's, which is negative 14x. And then here's our constant, which is positive 8. And that would be inches squared. Now this is where FOIL method will not work. So the same method that I was using earlier will. So we take this one and rewrite it vertically. And then we take this one and we write it horizontally. And again, it's easier if you draw your lines and you put one between each term. Make sure you keep the sign with the term. And then if you want to, you can put one where you're multiplying. Mine are a little too big. Alright. So here we go. X times x squared is x to the third. Understood 1 times 4 is 4. X times x is x squared. X times 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. X. Now this one and each one of them. 2 times understood 1 is 2 times x squared. 2 times 4 is 8 times x. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Now let's combine what's alike. Here's an x to the third. Sorry about that. 8x squared. Positive 5x. And minus 6. Now notice that when I multiplied, my exponents changed. But when I went to combine them together, they did not. But that's not 8x, I think that's 6x squared. Two plus 4 is 6 x squared. 8 plus negative 3 is 5, and minus 6. Yes, that is correct now. Alright, so vertical 3m. That's no. 3m and negative 4. And then 2m squared minus 3m plus 1. Draw your lines in between each term. Make sure you keep the sign that goes with the term, like the minus goes with that 4, so it becomes negative 4. And there's what we're multiplying. Okay. 3 times 2 is 6. M times m squared is m to the third. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. M squared. 1 times 3 is 3. M. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. M squared. Negative 4 times negative 3 is 12. M. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. So we have an m to the third. Let's write it down. Here's an m squared and here's an m squared. Negative 8 minus 9 is negative 17 m squareds. Positive 12 and positive 3 would give us positive 15 m's, and then minus 4. So I'm going to stop this video and start another one since it's getting so long.